Joe Biden carries out an airstrike on what might have actually been an empty car. And we'll talk a bit about what this means for the world here as we hit the final couple days of our Afghanistan evacuation. So, good luck. But we'll talk just a bit about that. In other news, a Chicago Police Union president vows to rally against the city's vaccine mandate. So we'll talk just a bit about what's going on there. Eric Clapton releases an anti-vaccine song as Neil Young cancels all of his tour spots because they are super spreaders. So we'll go over a little bit of that. Plus, Hurricane Ida is ripping up the United States, heading now through central Mississippi. So we'll talk a bit about that. It's going to be all this and more. Hey. Do you trust the plan yet? I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar, and it's been a weekend, that's for sure. It's been, we get these on Monday shows all the time where we maybe have a little bit left over from the Friday show, plus the fact the government can't stop doing stupid things over the weekend. There are almost 40 tabs again. Seriously. Almost 40 again on a Monday morning, and we're going to get through all of them because, hey, it's Monday. I don't have to go to work after this, so we'll go ahead and we'll talk about everything that's on the stack here. Some of them are actually going to be a little bit of quick hitters, so we may still be able to stay on schedule. I don't want to take too much time away from Stephen Ignoramus' audience, even though I know he has got 200 tabs up of his own. I don't know where he gets all the stuff that he gets, but he's got 200 of his own here. We'll get over there at the end of the show, and it's going to be all this and more over on Contemporary. Before we get started, head on over, check out my friends who will be joining me in a new upcoming project coming this fall, which is like right around the corner, by the way. But go over and check out great shows such as the aforementioned Daily Ignoramus. Also go check out the Porch Boys. Check out the Freckles and Brit Show, the R-rated conservative, both of whom are on a hiatus right now for moving issues. They're both moving from their very, very blue areas into other areas. So, we can't fault them for that. So, let them get out and get out into places that are more freedom-loving. But also go check out The Breakdown with Birkenhoff, which Wyatt Birkenhoff will be co-hosting with me on the Red and Ed show tonight. I don't know when Elaine is coming back. I really hope that she does soon because I miss that snarky attitude that comes with her looking at the government as much as my snarky attitude going against the government here. I miss a lot of that here. So please come back, Elaine. Please do come back. But, family comes first, and sometimes you got the issues that go along with that. So we wish her well on her journey here, and let's get into the news of the day, starting with your finance. So, looking at the Dow Jones this morning, the Dow is sitting at 35,455.80 at the open. That is up 242.68 points from Friday or Thursday night's close, and that's about 0.69%, so just a little bit under 1% to go get started. For the Dow Jones across Friday, let's see your Bitcoin. Get a refresh on that, see where it's actually at. Your Bitcoin is at 47,584.60. A little bit of a brief hit over 50,000. It was kind of cool, but yeah, we are settling back down into the upper 40,000s. I still say grab a little bit while it's on sale here, but this is not official financial advice. Never, ever, ever spend more money than you can afford on stocks or risky ventures. Looking in at your metal prices. Alright, looks like your copper is also going back up. Once again, copper futures have stabilized off. Iron and steel are down slightly throughout the morning. Aluminum is up as well. Radiators, copper fin, rims, catalytic converters have come back up unless you have a small GM cat. Carbide is down. Power supplies and are up. Other than that, computer supplies are staying the same. And other coppers are coming back up. So it looks like the steel market has gone down, and the copper and aluminum market has gone up, and so is the gold market. So that's what we're seeing off of this. Let's see what IBD has to say. Let's actually get the monitors up here and see what you guys are saying. Make sure that you guys aren't killing each other in the chat. Always a concern here. We bring in different ideas, and we like to have different ideas here. All right. Let's see what IBD has to say here. Dow Jones Futures. Market rally shows broad strength. Affirm surges on Amazon deals. Shopify, Palantir near buys. This is from Ed Carson. Dow Jones Futures rose slightly Sunday morning along with an advertisement. That's where they rose slightly on. Dow Jones Futures rose slightly Sunday morning along with S&P 500 Futures and NASDAQ Futures. AFRM stock surged on the payment firm's new alliance with Amazon.com as the buy now, pay later option booms online. Yeah, that's never come back to bite us in the ass. Tesla rivals Li Auto and BYD Company reported earnings. The stock market rally had a strong week, hitting record highs even as Fed Chief Jerome Powell said a bond taper is likely to start soon. The NASDAQ and Russell 2000 had their best weekly gains in months. Shopify stock, index stock, DocuSign, Snap, and Palantir are near buy points. Amazon is teaming up with Affirm Holdings to offer installment payment options at checkout. Affirm already has a relationship with Walmart, Shopify, and many other big e-commerce players. Still, Affirm shot up 41% on Monday on the Amazon news. Amazon stock was little changed. Affirm stock, which came public in January, has plunged from its February peak, but it was already up 20% so far this month, largely on the news that Square would buy Australian buy now pay later fintech Afterpay for $29 billion. Square stock shot up in early August, record highs on the Afterpay deal and strong earnings, but pulled back to its 10-week line. Square stock rose slightly before the open. Square could flash an aggressive entry with decent gain, rebounding from the 10-week line further and clearing a downtrend. So I'm not sure how this goes, but this is because I've never really gone onto Amazon and bought anything other than with cash. Well, not cash, obviously, but like making sure the money's in my bank account before I clear the full sale finally. I've never done an installment payment on something I bought off Amazon or really anything else I bought offline. But I mean, with some of the credit that's going to be coming out of the, we're seeing a housing crisis. We're seeing people that are going to have evictions on their records. People are probably defaulting on some of their credit cards right now because, hey, I don't have to pay because they said they'd suspend their payments for the coronavirus. We're seeing some of that come back out of this, and I don't know. I don't know how well this is going to go, and if buy now, pay later doesn't require credit, this changes everything off of this, but I would think that this is still going to be something, and why wouldn't you just put it on your credit card anyway? I don't know. I have a lot of questions about this, but that's because I've never used this kind of, this methodology of buying things. Maybe this will be a cool thing. Maybe this will shoot up industry. Maybe it'll get people to go out and buy more stuff. I don't know. I actually don't know how this works, but apparently the people at Amazon and Square do, so, well, we'll see what happens with them. I'm probably still going to buy stuff for cash off that. Li Auto earnings. Tesla and rival Li Auto reported earnings before Monday's open. Li Auto lost a cent a share adjusted, better than expected. Revenue soared 159% to $780.4 million, easily beating Q3 revenue guidance was also strong. Li Auto stock rose modestly before the open. Late Friday, BYD Company reported its first half profit climbed 29% to 1.17 billion yuan. Amid rising material costs, China's biggest EV maker said revenue leapt 54% to 89.1 billion yuan. BYD stock, which is Hong Kong listed and trades over the counter in US, was not yet active. So, my question on that, and because Tesla's going nuts too here, can you buy a Li Auto car here in the States? I mean, I don't see where they say this is the Tesla rival. I know that China is probably a bigger market than the US for cars, but a lot of that comes with the government intervention along with that. Can you actually buy a Li Auto here? Or is it just a Tesla and then whatever offerings Ford and GM have? I don't know. I've never seen one. I've only ever seen a Tesla. And a few of the various offerings that our other manufacturers that we have in the country make. Nissan Leaf, Chevy Volt, stuff like that. But regardless, we will see what happens with that. Let's get into the futures. Dow futures were slightly above fair value. S&P 500 futures climbed about 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures rose 0.1%. Remember, overnight action in Dow futures and elsewhere doesn't necessarily translate into actual trading in the next regular stock market session. All right, let's grab a brief one from CNBC, and let's talk about all the good news we have about Afghanistan. What's going to be nice, though, is we don't have a huge chunk of Afghanistan news right now. Mostly because the mainstream media doesn't want you to talk about it here. We've actually got a bigger coronavirus segment than Afghanistan. Starting from Fox 32 and ending all the way down here at this one here, the archived one from Insider. So let's get to it. Let's read from CNBC quickly. Stock futures are a little changed to start the week, with the S&P 500 set to add to its record. From Maggie Fitzgerald. U.S. stock futures were quiet on Monday morning as investors readied for the final trading days of August. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose 14 points, or less than 0.1%. S&P 500 futures gained 0.1%, and NASDAQ 100 futures traded 0.1% higher. All three of your big ones went up 0.1%. Monday and Tuesday marked the last two trading days of August. Thus far, the S&P 500 is up 2.6% in August. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the NASDAQ Composite rose 1.5% and 3.1% this month, respectively. Key tech shares were higher in pre-market trading. Chipmakers AMD and Nvidia moved higher, while Microsoft also rose. Shares of a firm holding we just talked about were up 40% in pre-market after the buy now pay later company announced a partnership with Amazon on Friday. Amazon stock rose 1%. What happens if you don't pay? I mean, that's the question. I mean, do you have to have a certain creditworthiness to do so? And what happens if you don't pay? What happens then? I mean, it's usually at a smaller number, so I mean, that's what I've seen off of this. Hey, you could buy this $120 book for cash right now, or 3 easy payments of $39.95 or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. I don't get it. S&P 500 and the NASDAQ Composite closed at all-time highs on Friday as investors breathed a sigh of relief after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell signaled bond tapering could start this year, but the central bank is in no rush to hike interest rates. Powell said inflation is solidly around the bank's 2% target rate, one of the goals of the Fed's dual mandate. However, the Fed chairman also explained why he continues to think the current inflation rise is transitory and will eventually drop to the target level. So basically, they're telling you we're going to have inflation for the rest of the year. It is. How is it at the bank's 2.2% target rate? We had 3 months in a row of 5.4%. I don't understand. Please, somebody explain this to me. They keep trying to tell you everything's fine, it's transitory, it's 2%. No! We watched it go to 5%. 3 months in a row. You can't tell us this is transitory and is at 2% when we've seen the numbers for 3 months in a row. Just inflate that money though. Print more, print more. We'll get out of this recession in a hurry. Fuck you. And I'm not doing push-ups for that. Alright, let's get into the big news of the day here. Starting today with Reuters. Get ourselves all the way back up to the top here. U.S. in final phase of Kabul evacuations. Taliban prepares governments. Tick-tock, Biden. Tick-tock. We have... What time is it in Kabul right now? Because we have about a little over 24 hours, our time. 48, I would think, because they have until midnight. But what time is it in Kabul? Time in Kabul. It is 5:09 p.m., which means you have a little bit less than 31 hours to get everybody else, all your equipment and all your other shit back out, while the Taliban, ISIS is trying to bomb the shit out of you. And you don't see a problem with this? Okay. Enjoy. We'll see what happens with that. Alright, anyway, reading from Reuters has to say, no author given. U.S. forces were in the final phase of pulling out of Kabul, ending 2 decades of costly involvement in Afghanistan as the country's new Taliban rulers prepared to take control of the airport. Just over 1,000 civilians remained in the airport on Sunday to be flown out before the troops finally leave, a Western security official told Reuters. We want to ensure that every foreign civilian and those who are at risk are evacuated today. Forces will start flying out once the process is over, said the official who was stationed at the airport. U.S. President Joe Biden said he will stick by his deadline to withdraw all U.S. troops from Afghanistan by Tuesday. A U.S. official told Reuters on Saturday that fewer than 4,000 troops remained at the airport. U.S. and allied forces have mounted a massive 2-week effort to ferry foreign nationals and tens of thousands of vulnerable Afghans out of the country. The airlift, one of the biggest such evacuation operations ever, marked the end of a 20-year Western mission in Afghanistan that began when U.S.-led forces ousted a Taliban government that had provided safe haven for the perpetrators of the September 11, 2001 attacks on the United States. The final chapter came quickly after the U.S. and the Taliban made a deal to end the foreign involvement. The Western-backed government and Afghan army melted away as Taliban fighters swept across the country and took control of Kabul on August 15th. It's really only been 2 weeks, by the way. The U.S. and allies have taken about 114,400 people out of Afghanistan in the past 2 weeks, but tens of thousands who want to go will be left behind. We tried every option because our lives were in danger. They must show us a way to be saved. We should leave Afghanistan or they should provide a safe place for us, one woman said outside the airport. A Taliban official told Reuters the Islamic group had engineers and technicians ready to take charge of the airport. We're waiting for the final nod from the Americans to secure full control over the Kabul airport as both sides aim for a swift handover, said the official, speaking on condition of anonymity. Britain's last military flight left Kabul on Saturday night after a chaotic 2 weeks at the airport that was plunged into bloodbath on Thursday when an Islamic State suicide bomb attack outside the airport gates killed at least 90 Afghans and 13 American troops. Biden headed on Sunday to Dover Air Force Base to honor members of the U.S. military killed in the attack as the remains were returned to the U.S. Atop a I don't know how I feel about that one. I mean, I know it's the duty as the commander-in-chief, but man, this botched pullout that your administration was the architect for. And I don't think Biden was the architect for this because he can't find his pants. But he is the face of the administration that brokered this changeover. I don't know how I feel about that, yo. I don't. Yeah. A top U.S. official said the Biden admin expects the Taliban to continue allowing safe passage for Americans and others to leave Afghanistan after the U.S. military withdrawal is completed. Really? Really? That's what you expect? I don't have words for how stupid that is. The Taliban have both communicated privately and publicly that they will allow for safe passage, said Jake Sullivan, Biden's national security advisor, in a CBS TV interview set to be broadcast on Sunday. The collapse of the Afghan government leaves an administrative vacuum that has led to fears of an economic crisis and widespread hunger. Prices for commodities like flour, oil, and rice are rapidly rising, and the currency is plunging, with money changers across the border in Pakistan already refusing to accept the Afghani. On Saturday, officials ordered banks to reopen and imposed a limit on withdrawals of 200 or 20,000 Afghani. Long queues formed outside the bank branches of people trying to get money out. Taliban spokesman Zabihullah Mujahid has said the difficulties will subside quickly once the new administration is up and running. But with its economy shattered by decades of war, Afghanistan is now facing the end of billions of dollars in foreign aid poured in by Western donors. Mujahid said the Taliban would announce a full cabinet for the coming days. It had appointed governors and police chiefs in all but one of the Afghanistan's 34 provinces, he said. It also appealed to the United States and other Western nations to maintain diplomatic relations after withdrawing. Britain said that should happen only if the Taliban allow safe passage for those who want to leave and respect human rights. The Taliban's 96-01 rule was marked by a harsh version of Sharia Islamic law, with many political rights and basic freedoms curtailed and women severely oppressed. Afghanistan was also a hub for anti-Western militants, and Washington, London, and others fear it might become so again. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to be, nervous about with all of this. I don't buy some of this, and I do think that some of this was neocon propaganda to bring us over into Afghanistan so we could have a nice hub to go after Iran and protect our greatest ally. Also controlling one of the major routes out of China for trade. There's a lot of stuff going on with this, and there is a lot. There's a ton. Just a ton of political pressure on this from one direction or the other. And there's a lot that we've got to watch with this. Otherwise, far be it to say, but our U.S. government does like to go over and bomb brown kids in the Middle East. It's a good place to put people once they get back up out of school and they have no direction, instead of trying to help society accept these people. We just come in and convince them that if they join the military, they get to go out and play in the desert and their college is paid for. But we'll see what happens with that. We'll watch these final few hours of this and go from there. Let's talk about the title card of this show here. U.S. carries out Afghanistan drone strike as Kabul evacuation efforts enter final stretch. This is from Lawrence Smith-Spark, Barbara Starr, Nick Petan-Walsh, and Sandy Sidhu. The U.S. military carried out a drone strike against what it said was an ISIS-K planner in Afghanistan's eastern Nangarhar province amid warnings of possible further terror attacks targeting the last-ditch U.S. evacuation efforts from Kabul. The desperate mission to airlift U.S. citizens and Afghans who assisted U.S. forces and officials from the country by the end of the month is now in its final phase. According to locals in the area where the strike was carried out Friday night, at least 3 people were killed, a man, a woman, and a child, and several people were injured. However, the U.S. Defense Department said in a briefing Saturday that 2 high-profile ISIS-K Islamic State Khorasan targets were killed in the strike, and 1 other was injured. The U.S. knew of 0 civilian casualties, said Army Major General William Hank Taylor, Joint Staff Deputy Director for Regional Operations, on Friday. Exclusive video and interviews obtained by CNN directly from the Afghan reporters at the scene show a small point of impact as well as a heavy shrapnel damage on surrounding walls of a compound that was hit. A rickshaw in the courtyard was severely damaged, and there was also some damage to rooms inside the house. We saw that rickshaws were burning, one man said. Children and women were wounded, and 1 man, 1 boy, and 1 woman had been killed on the spot. We tried to find people to bring something so we can carry or transport the wounded. Eventually, he said, 2 rickshaws came, and we transported the wounded in that. And then beyond the police headquarters, an ambulance arrived, and the Taliban arrived, and we carried the dead. The drone strike in Nangarhar came a day after U.S. President Biden vowed to retaliate for a terrorist attack Thursday that killed 13 U.S. service members and at least 170 others outside of Kabul's international airport. The remains of those service members are en route to the States, according to the Pentagon spokesman John Kirby, which, as we saw during the first article, actually we saw that during the finance articles, that yes, they are, no, it was during the Reuters article, that yes, they are home now, and Biden went to go visit them. 20 U.S. Marines who were injured in the attack are also being treated at the Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany. Ramstein Air Base Commander Brigadier General Joshua M. Olson said at a press conference on Saturday. The man targeted in the drone strike was believed to be associated with the potential future attacks at the airport, the U.S. defense official told CNN on Saturday. So, I have problems with this. I have big problems with this. Now, first and foremost, I keep getting told left and right that the Taliban hates ISIS, and yet ISIS was operating within their countries, and apparently we knew who they were and where they were, and we could have easily, because I mean, we're giving the names of U.S. citizens to the Afghan government, the Taliban, but we couldn't give them the name of this person from this terrorist organization that the Taliban supposedly hates, and trust them to do the cleanup on their own soil. Diplomatically, how does this go? Because we have just committed an airstrike, a drone strike, on their soil, well, their airspace, I should say, but yeah, within their territory, within where they go. We just conducted a military operation that injured people from that country. That's a diplomatic nightmare in and of itself. And also, do you remember? And I'm not going to go on the news comparison of who was outraged and who wasn't outraged, because you remember there was a lot of outrage over this. But do you remember what happened when the Donald did his airstrike out of seemingly nowhere last year? Out of just seemingly nowhere, we just start to hear, oh, well, he conducted an airstrike in Iraq, and oh my God, it's the end of the world. What did we know right away? Before the ashes were done, before the embers were done burning out and turning to ash, what did we know right away? What was the first thing we knew? It was Qasem Soleimani. Oh my God, he just fired on a foreign dignitary out of nowhere in an airstrike, in a precision strike. We knew his name almost immediately. Before the embers were cold, we knew the dude's name. And yet with this, it's just, we found an ISIS target and we shot him. You know what I think happened? I think they went out and droned an empty fucking car and said, we got him! We got him! That's what I think happened, because we've got no name, we've got no body, we've got no identifiers. And yeah, it was the last time. That was the first thing we knew, was the name of the person who got hit. And yes, we have civilian injuries from this as well. Let's see. The man targeted in the drone strike was believed to be associated with potential future attacks at the airport, a U.S. defense official told CNN on Saturday. Okay, what's his name? What is his name? The U.S. located him and had sufficient eyes on and sufficient knowledge to strike, the official said, adding that it was a known entity, but that the U.S. is not calling him a senior ISIS-K operative. Okay, what's his name? Because I think you just gave somebody a great big insurance settlement, is what I think. I don't even know if they have insurance in Afghanistan. I know if I was an insurance agent, I wouldn't want to insure anything over there. It's been a war zone for 20 years. U.S. and other Western countries have been racing to evacuate their citizens and Afghan allies ahead of an August 31st deadline after the Taliban retook control of the country, prompting fears of deadly reprisals against anyone linked to an international force. Those efforts, hampered by fears of further security efforts at the airport, now appear to be in their closing stages. The last UK military flight dedicated to civilian evacuees, we read this in the Reuters article. So, yeah, that's my question. I have a lot of questions about this, and I don't believe you. I don't. That's the end of it. That's the be-all and the end-all. I don't believe you. And it's not like you can't leak that name out. Alright, let's grab one From CNBC, U.S. drone strikes an ISIS-K vehicle packed with explosives in Kabul. From Amanda Macias. The U.S. carried out a military strike on Sunday against an ISIS-K target in Kabul, a development that comes in the final days of an immense humanitarian evacuation mission. U.S. military forces conducted a self-defense unmanned over-the-horizon airstrike today in Kabul, eliminating an imminent ISIS-K threat to Hamad Karzai International Airport. The U.S. Sent Command spokesman, Navy Captain Bill Urban, wrote in a statement. Cool, what was his name? We're confident we successfully hit the target. Significant secondary explosions from the vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material. He added, "You mean gasoline?" There were no known civilian casualties following the strike, even though CNN just said there were civilian casualties. The latest strike follows a Friday drone strike that killed 2 high-profile ISIS-K members believed to be involved in planning attacks against U.S. forces in Kabul. Army Major General William Taylor said there were no known civilian casualties following the strike. Okay, what were their names? Because that was another one that it happened over on Friday our time. And I look at this, I said, okay, we've got no names, we've got no questions about who these people are, no questions about anything else off of this. We just have to sit back and trust that they went out and bombed ISIS-K officials, not an empty fucking building. Friday's strike came less than 2 days after a suicide bomber detonated an explosive near the gates of Kabul's airport, resulting in the deaths of 13 American service members. The White House said Sunday the President and First Lady will meet with the families of the fallen and observe a dignified transfer of the remains at Dover Air Force Base. A dignified transfer is a solemn process in which the remains of fallen service members are carried from an aircraft to an awaiting vehicle. A dignified transfer is conducted for every U.S. service member killed in action. Several international bodies intend to meet Monday to discuss various aspects of the situation in Afghanistan. The UN Security Council is scheduled to meet on Monday. The last time the full UN Security Council met was August 16th, a day after a stunning Taliban takeover of the country. Foreign ministers of the G7, along with Turkey and Qatar, are also planning to hold a virtual meeting, CNBC confirmed Sunday with a State Department official. Sunday's strike comes in the wake of a warning from President Biden's national security team a day earlier that an attack on the airport at Kabul is highly likely in the next 24 to 36 hours. The situation on the ground continues to be extremely dangerous, and the threat of terrorist attacks on the airport remains high. President Biden said in a statement on Saturday, adding that he directed U.S. commanders to take every possible measure to prioritize force protection. Marine Corps General Kenneth McKenzie, the commander of U.S. Central Command, told reporters Thursday that ISIS is likely to try to continue attacks before the evacuations conclude. No shit, Sherlock. We believe it's their desire to continue those attacks, and we expect those attacks to continue, a 4-star general told reporters at the Pentagon, adding that the U.S. was monitoring an extremely active threat stream against the airfield. So, I mean, for the next 24 hours, I would not be surprised if I heard that there was another one of these as the last stretches of this. I mean, everybody else who's still in the country is in the airport right now. And you don't see a problem with that? But, okay. I guess we'll see where that goes and what happens with that. Let's move on. Let's grab one from the Daily Wire for you guys, talking a little bit more about CENTCOM. U.S. CENTCOM issues new statement on strike against ISIS target. We are investigating further, from Ryan Saavedra. I don't think it was Biden. I think it was the person who's pulling Biden's strings said to blow up someone. We need to look like we're doing something. I don't think it was him himself. All right, let's see what Ryan Saavedra has to say. U.S. Central Command issued a new statement late on Sunday evening regarding the strike that was carried out earlier in the day against a target that was purportedly involved in an ISIS plot against the airport in Kabul. We are aware of the reports of civilian casualties following the strike on a vehicle in Kabul today, CENTCOM said in a statement. We are still assessing the results of the strike, which we know disrupted an imminent ISIS-K threat to the airport. We know that there were substantial and powerful subsequent explosions resulting from the destruction of the vehicle, indicating a large amount of explosive material inside that may have caused additional casualties. You mean gasoline? Oh no, I'm sorry. That's outside of the US. Petrol. That's what they call it over there. It's unclear what may have happened today, and we are investigating further, the statement added. We would be deeply saddened by any potential loss of innocent life. The statement from Captain Bill Urban, U.S. Navy, U.S. Central Command spokesman, came in response to a report that CNN alleged 9 members of one family, including 6 children, were killed in the drone strike, according to a person claiming to be the brother of one of the people killed in the strike. The vehicle was targeted by the U.S. on Sunday's airstrike on Kabul, was next to a building and contained 1 suicide bomber, CNN reported. Yeah, I don't believe you. According to a U.S. official who allegedly briefed on the network, it remains unclear if the vehicle was intended to be a car bomb or if the suicide bomber was using it for transport. The Wall Street Journal reported that a senior Afghan health official who was not part of the Taliban, who had worked with the U.S.-backed government that was recently in power, said the strike killed several civilians and hit a house. CENTCOM said earlier on Sunday, U.S. military forces conducted a self-defense unmanned over-the-horizon airstrike today on a vehicle in Kabul, eliminating an imminent ISIS-K threat to Hamad Karzai International Airport. We are confident we successfully hit the target. Significant secondary explosions from a vehicle indicated the presence of a substantial amount of explosive material. You mean petrol? We are assessing the possibilities of a civilian casualty, though we have no indications at this time. We remain vigilant for future potential threats. The official said the vehicle was loaded up and ready to go. The strike came hours after the U.S. State Department sent out an alert during the early morning hours on Sunday instructing U.S. citizens to immediately leave the airport in Kabul and the surrounding area due to a specific, credible threat. You mean like a drone blowing up a car on a crowded street and killing 9 people? Would that be a specific, credible threat? Alright, so that's what CENTCOM is saying off of this. We're investigating, don't worry. Alright. Let's keep going. From Fox News. Biden refuses to take Afghanistan question, walks away after offering to take questions at FEMA. From Jessica Chasmar. President Biden blew off questions about Afghanistan after offering to take questions at the Federal Emergency Management Agency headquarters in Washington on Sunday. Biden was at FEMA to address the response to Hurricane Ida, which strengthened to a Category 4 before making landfall in Louisiana earlier on Sunday, which we'll be talking about that. There's a major hurricane that just hit the U.S., and we're not talking about it until towards the end of the show. Which is lame, because I know, like, the Rebel with a Cause is down in Louisiana, and he mentioned a bunch of other people who are down in that kind of same general region who are going to be affected by this, so our prayers go out to them. A lot of them are good friends of the channel. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead, Biden told Bloomberg News' reporter Jennifer Jacobs. We have video. Hooray for video. We get to watch this, and I get to rest my Biden voice.
Commissioner, I really think it all works. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan.
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you say if there's still an acute
Okay.
risk?
Okay, so there is President Biden there at FEMA headquarters in D.C.
Commissioner, I really think it all works. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on
And there's the other question. What is up with this? I'm not supposed to take any questions. You're the motherfucking president of the United States of America. You're supposed to be the one in charge in the executive branch. You're supposed to be telling other people when they can and can't take questions. What the fuck is up with that? That's the person with the nuclear codes. Hold on. I'm going to tell you who else is the person with control of the nuclear codes.
American state senator in the state of Delaware. Everything about. And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They look.
That's the person who has control of our nuclear codes. That's the same person right here.
Commissioner, I really think it all works. I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan.
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you say?
Peace out. Fuck you. I'm not answering your questions because they haven't briefed me on those yet. There he is. That's the President of the United States. All right, let's go ahead and grab another one here from NPR for you guys. U.S. warns of specific credible threat near the Kabul airport. This was updated August 28th, so this is a couple days old. But we should still look into this very briefly here. And remember, it's also NPR, so you need to donate so they can spread their communist ideals around the country and turn us into what it is that they want us to be here. Your tax dollars don't do enough, so make sure you hit that donate button. And if we get halfway through the article, they will remind us, NPR, National Progressive Radio. Let's see what David Mistich has to say. All right. President Biden on Saturday vowed to continue to target the Islamic State affiliate ISIS-K in retaliation for the group's bombings of the Kabul airport, while warning that another terrorist attack at the airport is highly likely on Sunday or Monday. The State Department warned of a specific credible threat. I'm guessing that right now there is a State Department, given the fact that we just heard the President of the United States say, "I'm not allowed to take any questions, but go on." Early Sunday, Kabul time, and urged U.S. citizens to avoid the airport. U.S. military officials announced Friday evening that a drone strike killed an ISIS-K target near the Nangarhar province of Afghanistan. On Saturday, officials updated that to say that two high-profile targets described as a planner and a facilitator were killed, and one person from the terrorist group was injured in the retaliatory strikes. Cool. What are their names? What's my line? This strike was not the last, Biden said in a statement on Saturday. We will continue to hunt down any person involved in that heinous attack and make them pay, or we'll just keep bombing empty buildings and tell the American people we're doing something. The Department of Defense on Saturday also released the names of U.S. service members killed in Thursday's attack. Pentagon officials offered more information on Saturday about the continued operations in Afghanistan, including the evacuation and efforts in drone strikes. Pentagon Press Secretary John Kirby said the names of the drone strike targets would not be released. Oh, how convenient. How convenient for you that the names of the people who were supposedly the biggest threats to America, that we could, at least as a public, go back and say, hey, cool. Yeah, no, we'll go and look at these people, 4chan will come out and say, okay, this is who this person is, this is what this person's done every second of their life up until, that's what 4chan does. But how convenient that the names of these drone strike targets can't be released. And I don't know, has 4chan already gone out and investigated this and try to come out and see what it is that actually happened with this and who was struck and who wasn't? Do they have 25 people out there analyzing the license plate of the car to see where it was, who it was registered to, who it was rented to? Do they have 45 people analyzing every angle of the building? Because that's the kind of stuff that 4chan does. Which kind of tells me why they don't want the names to get out, because I don't think the people existed. I think it was Mohammed, this is bullshit, and Akbar did not exist. The fact that 2 of these individuals are no longer walking the face of the earth, that's a good thing. You fucking Warhawk prick. Kirby said of the drone strike, it's a good thing for the people of Afghanistan, and it's a good thing for our troops and our forces at that airfield. U.S. officials have said that the threats continued at the Kabul airport following Thursday's bombing, which killed nearly 200 people, including 13 U.S. service members. The bombing has intensified an already frantic operation aimed at evacuating Afghans and withdrawing U.S. troops ahead of an August 31st deadline imposed by Biden. No, that was not who that was imposed by. That was... No, that was not who that was imposed by. That was imposed by Mr. Taliban. No excuses. Get your people out of my country. We're going to complete this mission by the end of the month, and we've said that, Kirby said. Nothing has changed about the timeline for us, and we will do this in a safe and orderly way possible, and that includes being able to continue to evacuate up until the very end. Well, you're running out of time. Tick-tock. Tick-tock, tick-tock. We'll see what happens. But there is a specific credible threat near the Kabul airport. We'll see where it goes. Let's grab one from Insider here. Seth Moulton called the U.S. withdrawal effort a total fucking disaster following his secret trip to Kabul. From Lauren Frias. Yeah, I'd love to see the books and the actual numbers of people that are trying to get out of there because, well, I don't trust the U.S. government, and I think they're feeding us a line of bullshit. Seth Moulton, a Democrat from Mass, said the U.S. withdrawal and evacuation efforts were a total fucking disaster following his secretive informational visit to Kabul with GOP Rep. Peter Meyer. In an interview with New York Magazine Thursday morning during his layover in Madrid, the Democratic lawmaker described the scene at the Hamid Karzai International Airport as the most visceral, raw view of humanity I will probably ever see in my life. The thing that everyone needs to understand, even if you completely agree with the Biden admin's decision to withdraw, the way they have handled this has been a total fucking disaster, Moulton told the Intelligencer. It will be measured in bodies because a lot of people are dying because they can't get out. Earlier this week, Moulton and Meyer, both U.S. vets, went to Kabul in an effort to push President Biden to extend the August 31st deadline to evacuate Americans and Afghans who helped the U.S. following the Taliban takeover of the country. Refugees are going to start dying today if we don't get them help in places like Qatar, Moulton said. Thousands will get slaughtered by the Taliban if we don't somehow devise a plan to get them out before we leave. These are all the things the admin has failed to do, and I know that because people on the ground are telling me, he added. Moulton blamed the Biden admin for the messy withdrawal of U.S. troops out of Afghanistan and the subsequent disorganized evacuation of Kabul, saying he was the only lawmaker who sounded the alarm on the stakes of withdrawing U.S. troops from Afghanistan. And yes, if we can organize, it doesn't all... I mean, these people don't all have to come to the U.S. I know, of course, we're going to try to push another refugee crisis because, you know, why the fuck not? It worked so well in Minnesota, and that's why we have Congressman Ilhan Omar, because of our efforts on evacuating refugees from Somalia. But on top of this here, I mean, there are a lot of people that are getting shipped on an intermediate basis to Qatar. And Styx has pointed this out too, because, I mean, we can take the lessons we've learned, especially given the fact that the judge has upheld the safe third country option for Mexico, where Qatar has also said that they will take refugees, and they are a safe third country. They will take in and protect all the refugees from Afghanistan who are having other issues. Then they're in a place that speaks I don't know if they speak the exact same language, but a similar language, has a similar belief structure, a place that they're still comfortable, similar climate, stuff like that. I love Wisconsin, but our climate is probably not suited for people from equatorial Middle East. It just probably doesn't work that way. So we've got the opportunity for ground transport at that point. I mean, I'm sure you've still got to get through Iran, and I understand that's a problem, but you don't always have to take people over a gigantic ocean to get them to places that they need to go. But that's what we see, and it is a disaster. Because they basically got told at the end that, the government you worked for 20 years to build is gone. Now you've got to deal with the people that you fought against for 20 years to get all the rest of your forces out. That's going to be a disaster no matter what the situation. All right, let's grab one from Analytics Insight. I have not been able to find anything green check verified on this, but I thought it was worth noting. So let's take a look and see what we've got going on with this. Am I not on something? Because my chat's only saying 4 out of 5. Unless the Trovo's not coming over. That's a definite possibility. Let's go double check all of our stream here. Yep. 6 on Twitch, 1 on YouTube, or 3 on YouTube, 1 on DLive. Yeah, everything else looks like it's up and running here. Trovo doesn't show me any viewers. But regardless, yeah, that's what we're seeing coming back up out of that. Alright, anyway, let's get back into the news here. The Taliban get a hold of biometric database. Is cybersecurity in danger? From Satavisa Pati. In its long decade of control over Afghanistan, the U.S. military composed a huge biometric database with about 25 million entries. It was done in an attempt to track terrorists. However, after the withdrawal from the country, it's being reported that the database might be in the hands of the Taliban, and they can use it to their own favor. It has the potential to bring great danger to cybersecurity. Two primary purposes of this database was in military operations, but it also had records of Afghan citizens who worked with the U.S. embassies. It also included information about the coalition of U.S. allies. The biometric information that could be on file for those people varies. The handheld interagency identity detection equipment, HIDE, used by the military collects everything from iris scans to fingerprints, along with identifying biographical information. According to these sources The Intercept spoke to, the devices are now reportedly in the Taliban's possession. Biometric devices are for authentication and verification of an individual with the help of the unique, measurable, and biological trait of that individual. Biometric is a tremendously growing facility. Today, biometric authentication and verification systems come in various forms. It can be fingerprint biometric, psychological, physio. Wow, I can't read this morning. It can be fingerprint biometric, physiological biometric, DNA matching, iris recognition, voice speaker identification, and so on. Today, attempts to bypass data security events look like efforts to bypass the impossible thing. Notwithstanding the concern of data security efforts falling short, they have to be used. Information systems carrying a lot of biometric data of students, employees, or citizens are possible targets of cyber criminals. Theft of biometric data can be ruinous. Unlike passwords, biometric identifiers of an individual cannot be changed if they are compromised. If a criminal can create a pattern of biometric templates, people can lose their biometric identity permanently, and this is a cybersecurity threat. So, there again, I don't know if this is actually a thing or not, because, we see Analytics Insight, and it's a rumor mill with that, but I've not seen anything from Fox, CNN. Even the Daily the Daily Wire. Well, bye-bye, YouTube. Even the Daily Wire isn't talking about this. So I don't know if this is actually true or not, but if it is true, well, if you were in the military, I would be asking some questions if I was you. Because I'm sure your biometrics are on file with this. All right. Let's grab one from the New York Post. Audio feed cuts out as Biden snarks at reporters' Afghanistan question. We might have to refresh this one, but we will see. Because we've got some video right up at the top. Yeah, let's grab a quick refresh on this one. It might not work, though.
Thank you all very much.
There we go.
And thank the press for being here. We're going to go private now.
Mr. President, if Americans are still in Afghanistan after the deadline, what would you do?
Thank you guys. It's okay.
Sir, what would we do if Americans are still there after the deadline?
And there's the audio gone. President Biden delivered a sarcastic answer Wednesday to a reporter's question about the ongoing evacuation of Americans from Afghanistan, but viewers couldn't hear it because the audio feed from the White House cut it out. As the president wrapped up the public portion of a cybersecurity event, NBC News correspondent Peter Alexander asked, Mr. President, if Americans are still in Afghanistan after the August 31st withdrawal deadline, what will you do? Biden initially ignored the question, leading Alexander to ask again, Sir, what will you do if Americans are still there after the deadline? That's when the audio dropped out. However, Alexander later tweeted that Biden answered, You'll be the first person I call. An official White House transcript confirmed the statement. Some critics of the White House staff, some critics accused the White House staff of trying to shield Biden, while others blasted the commander-in-chief for giving a flip response to a reporter during an international crisis. Yeah, that might be a thing. Yeah, he did say we're going to private now. No, we're going to private now. Private, come here and fix my hair. Are you a girl, Private? I want to smell your hair. All right, from CNN. This one I caught right before we went live, so I don't know what all the details are of this, but we'll talk about it. U.S. Marine officer relieved of command after criticizing military leaders about Afghanistan withdrawal. From Paul LeBlanc, Oren Lieberman, and Brian Rokas. U.S. Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller has been relieved of command after he posted a video online questioning military leaders' handling of the situation in Afghanistan, a Marine Corps spokesperson said on Friday. Scheller had posted a video to his Facebook page on Thursday stating, people are upset because their senior leaders let them down and none of them are raising their hands to accepting accountability or saying, we messed this up. The Marine officer, who served in both Afghanistan and Iraq, said in the video he was willing to throw it all away to publicly demand accountability from military leadership. After the video was posted, Marine Corps spokesman Major Jim Stenger said in a statement that Scheller has been relieved of command due to a loss of trust and confidence in his ability to command. This is obviously an emotional time for a lot of Marines, and we encourage anyone struggling right now to seek counseling or talk to a fellow Marine. This is a forum in which Marine leaders can address their disagreements with the chain of command, but it's not social media, Stenger said. Scheller's video was posted the same day that 13 U.S. service members and more than 170 others were killed in an attack outside of Kabul's airport, according to the Pentagon and Afghanistan Ministry of Public Health. I'm going to say something that is probably not going to be popular among my audience, but this was probably the right decision for the Marine Corps to do. Now, you have avenues, especially if you're in command, to question the orders that are passed down and the orders that are coming down from the government. You have avenues to do that over that. And Facebook wasn't the way to do that. There are other ways to go out and do this, and there is a greedy press, especially right-wing press, that would love to publish your statement. Facebook was not the way to do this. Now, if you're an enlisted person, you signed a contract and you can't do that no matter what, but I mean, that's the grounds for dishonorable discharge, but yes, a forced resignation of commission for this guy was probably the right avenue to do so. And I'm glad that he came on, said something about it. But really, honestly, that was not the avenue to do it by. That was not the direction to do it by. So that is what it is. And I hope that he can. I know he's getting a lot of support from other people as he transitions into private life. And I like the fact that people are so supportive of him at this point. I really do like that. That, yes, this guy chose to end his career to go out and make the statement. And people are coming out in support of this. People want to know. And private charity will do better than the government will do all the time. So that's what we see coming off of that. All right, and the last one we have on Afghanistan here comes from the lovely Coconut Mommy, a video talking about what she has to say. I've not watched this video yet, so I don't know what it is she has to say. But I kind of do want to hear what she's got to say, and then we'll pick through it a little bit here. Let's have a listen.
Afghanistan. After al-Qaeda terrorists attacked us on 9/11, our brave warriors, special forces, they quickly deployed to defeat al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. They accomplished their mission rapidly and effectively, and that is when they should have returned home. But the elite, they wanted to nation build, getting us into a 20-year war with no clear mission or strategy, causing massive suffering and wasting trillions of taxpayer dollars. Afghanistan. The question is this: will we hold accountable the elite, the political leaders, the mainstream media, the military leaders, defense contractors, etc., who got us into and kept us in this foolish, short-sighted mission to turn Afghanistan into a quote-unquote democracy, costing us over $1 trillion and countless lives? Unlikely. And will we blindly allow the elite to drag us into new, even more costly military adventures in the name of spreading or protecting democracy? Probably. Out of aloha, we weep for the suffering that the elite have already caused. Out of aloha, we must stop them from causing even more.
You know, if I didn't know her stance on private firearm ownership and distribution of wealth, I'd really like her a lot. Because, I mean, that's the questions we need to ask. The fucking retarded ass W administration, where W himself came out and, tried to play it, hey, I'm so stupid, I must be cute. That kind of shtick that W fucking did. As he went on and he pulled the trigger on bombing even more brown kids in the Middle East that didn't need to die. None of this is going to be held accountable. In fact, W at this point is held up as a hero in the Republican Party because he's not evil Donald Trumpler. These people are not going to be held accountable for shit, and they should be. For 20 years, we have spent time, treasure, and American lives in the killer of empires. We have spent trillions of dollars trying to install a democracy in that country that folded up in 4 days. On a short-sighted mission that I'm not thoroughly convinced at this point even had any teeth. We're over there to kill Osama bin Laden. Okay, but you found him in Pakistan. We're over there to hold accountable the groups that held the terrorists and let them shelter there. Really? Because it doesn't appear that there's any evidence that the terrorists ever went there. Did you go over there? And like Tulsi said, did you go over there to actually do something terrorist related? Or did you go over there because you didn't like the way the Taliban was doing things and you had the perfect excuse to propagandize the American people and send us over into this country and try to install a democracy? yeah, that's definitely something to look into and something to appreciate about what's going on there. And yeah, and I, as anti-war as Tulsi, and I know that's one of the reasons that the Big L Libertarian Party loved her so much is for her anti-war stance, but she is very much take away your guns, redistribute the wealth type. So I've always been wary of her a little bit. And of course, she's Tulsi Gabbard, so she's podcast coming soon. All right. That's it. That's all I have for Afghanistan. Let's go talk about the COVID. Let's talk about the COVID, huh? We got the COVID we got to talk about because the COVID's going to come out and kill us all, okay? Let's go talk about the COVID. Starting from Fox 32 out of Chicago. And I'm going to filibuster a little bit to see if we can't wait to get to this other Fox 32 article until we see the name Harvey McLeod in the chat, because I know that she asked me about this on her stream last night. So we're going to filibuster a little bit to get there, but I also know that we don't want to take too much listener time away from Steven's audience, because half of you guys are Steven's audience too. So I want you to make sure that you get out to, you know, because he's participating in my project coming up in the near future. I want to take care of him too. So let's get into this here. Chicago Police Union president vows to rally against city vaccine mandate. From Roseanne Tellez and Fox 32 digital staff. At least one city employee union is ready to fight with Mayor Lori Lightfoot over mandatory vaccines. John Catanzaro, president of the Fraternal Order of Police, said the union is 100% against any mandate. Lightfoot announced yesterday that city workers will absolutely be required to get vaccinated against the pinko fucking pox, even though negotiations with employee unions are ongoing. But the Fraternal Order of Police is promising to go to court over any vaccine mandate. Good. Good. Tell these executives that they don't get to make a top-down edict to anybody anymore. That's what we need to start telling these executives. We need to start telling that to the president. We need to start telling that to governors, mayors. You don't get a top-down edict. We elect people to represent us in a legislature that works with you. We get a say. You're not a king. You're not a queen. Although I think Tony Evers might be a little bit of a queen. We're not going to be okay with subjecting our members to a vaccine that has not had extensive studies with side effects specifically, said Catanzaro. He called for a hell no for the Fraternal Order of Police. Lightfoot has not yet said when the mandate would take effect or what would happen to workers who refuse to get the shot. She says the new requirement coming after Pfizer got federal approval for the vaccine is all about safety. We'll be talking about that in just a bit too. But yes, at this point, they're going to fight back over it. And I mean, good for them. Good for them. There shouldn't be a situation where you should be required to take any vaccine. And I mean, vaccines themselves, for the majority of them, are a good idea. I know that's going to be a controversial opinion with people who are actually anti-vax, but vaccines themselves are a good idea. And if you want to get them, there's no force to get them. You know, they say, oh, well, you've got to have your shots in order to get into public school. No, you don't. No, you absolutely don't. You do not. It's a good idea. And most people go and take their kids to get their shots because it's a good idea. But good ideas don't require force. And we'll see what happens with that. All right. This one here, I don't know if this is happening today, but I mean, if you see a lot less trucks on the road today, the reason is that it looks like, retweet please, Logic Farmer says half-cocked and not going to happen. I think there's going to be some say to that some of this isn't going to happen. That's not going to be all trucks, but I'm willing to bet that a bunch of them do stop moving today, especially owner-operators. Company trucks, maybe not, because they all know that if they do this, they'll be told to leave their trucks and hitchhike the rest of the way home. But according to this meme here, August 31st, 2021, truckers unite in solidarity with Australia in the US and around the world. So I've not been able to find any sort of verification for this, but from the way I understand it from the rumor mill is that trucks are supposed to stop moving for today, for 24 hours today. They're not supposed to be out trucking for the rest of the day. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. Just because a lot of them are, at this point, company drivers, not owner-operators. Yeah, I can see every owner-operator out there. But QuickDraw 9000 comes out. Wait, so is their plan to let us all starve? I'm not sure this is a brilliant idea everyone thinks it is. And Mumpsimus says, isn't that the government's end game if you don't get vaccinated anyway? Which is also true. This is, again, one of the other reasons that I've said that it's not necessarily about supply shortages or an emergency or an apocalyptic event like a pandemic. Sometimes, and this is why I say, get your beans, get a freezer full of food, but also get a bunch of non-perishables. Get your mac and cheese, get your beans, get a big bag of rice. You can get that for super cheap. Get a bunch of stuff in there that you can hold indefinitely because you don't know what's going to happen here. And here's a situation where you're sitting in with that. They want to interrupt the supply chain in solidarity with Australia. Well, you might see some supply chain issues across the store. But for the most part, it's going to be a day, and you're not going to starve for a day. But even if you did, you got that extra can of beans, that extra can of rice, that extra can of Spam, or that extra bag of rice, that extra can of Spam, you're good, dude, because you thought ahead. And every time you went to the store, you got an extra can of beans, even if you weren't going to eat it the next time. Or an extra can of cream of chicken soup. Or an extra bag of ramen. Stuff that's not going to go bad. Or you filled your freezer with a bunch of chicken and a bunch of meat. Sometimes tornadoes happen, yo. And sometimes the trucks stop running because they're in solidarity. Always be prepared. Alright, from the Daily Mail. Also another brief one here because I don't know how verifiable this is, and also this, I almost skipped this one because I don't know how verifiable it is, except for the last part of the headline. I wanted to look into this a little bit. 7 News reporter Denham Hitchcock is rushed to hospital with extremely rare inflammation of the heart after getting the Pfizer COVID shot, but still urges Australians to get vaccinated so borders can reopen. From Sam McPhee for Daily Mail Australia. Thank you, Chilaga. Also, the 31st. Did they say the 30th or the 31st? That is tomorrow, so I got my dates mixed up too. That is for tomorrow. Thank you, Chilaga. 7 News reporter Denham Hitchcock is suffering from a heart condition as an extremely rare side effect of the Pfizer coronavirus vaccine. The investigative journalist said he has pericarditis, an inflammation of sac-like tissue that surrounds the heart that holds it in place and helps it function. Hitchcock claims the condition was caused by his first shot of the Pfizer vaccine and called on the government to keep your damn promise on opening up the world. I've battled over whether to send this post from the hospital or not, but I've decided after 27 years of being a journalist whose primary goal is to discover the truth, it would be hypocritical not to, he wrote on Instagram. I'm not anti-vax, but I'm not really pro-vax either. I'm pro-choice and pro-information to make that choice. Probably a little late to the hospital, but here I am, diagnosed with pericarditis, or inflammation of the heart due to the Pfizer vaccine. Hitchcock made the post from his hospital bed on the Gold Coast University Hospital on Thursday morning, 25 days after he received the shot. He said at first he was experiencing a racing heart, pins and needles, and dizziness, but continued on thinking they were normal side effects. After 3 weeks, he was still suffering from severe symptoms, including sharp chest pain, chills, and dizziness had become extreme. Hitchcock, whose Instagram is littered with pictures of him being active, participating in extreme sports, and showing off his trim figure, said the condition was not being spoken about enough. Since being here, I've contacted health professionals I know in Sydney. While it's rare, it's certainly not isolated. One hospital has had well over a dozen cases like me. And yet, he's still encouraging people to get the vaccine so they can open back up. And that's an interesting take on that too, because the majority of people who would go through something like this would say, no, never get the vaccine again, don't do anything. But he's still saying that, yes, in spite of the fact that I did this, I took the risk, and it's worth it. So go get the vaccine so we can open back up to the rest of the world. You know what I say? Make your choice and assess. If it's worth it to you to get the vaccine, then go get the vaccine. If you don't want to get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. If you want to get the vaccine and you have no way to go and get the vaccine, you can't drive to the doctor's office or anything like that, call me up and I will take you to go get the vaccine. So, that's what's going on with that. From the Hill, a Wisconsin lawmaker who opposed mandates before testing positive, now on a ventilator. This is from Olafimahim Oshin. So, just for context off of this, because there's not really much for this. I mean, this is a human interest story for me, because I know which district this guy is out of. But for the most part, this isn't too much of a human interest story for the rest of you. But I'll show you why I wanted to talk about this in just a second. A Wisconsin lawmaker who opposed mask and vaccine mandates is now on a ventilator after testing positive for the pinko fucking pox. The Associated Press reported. A spokesman for State Senator Andre Jacques shared Wednesday that Jacques was placed on a ventilator 2 days prior after developing pneumonia, according to the Associated Press. Senator Jacques was intubated and placed on a ventilator Monday evening, spokesman Matt Tompak said in a statement. While his condition is currently stable, and the days and weeks ahead will continue to be incredibly stressful and difficult time for Senator Jacques' family. Alright, so you know this Andre Jacques, and he's a Republican, and he was opposed to mask mandates. Here is the tweet that came with that announced that. From the Hill, Wisconsin lawmaker opposed mandates before testing positive, now on a ventilator. And here are the comments, because these people are demons. I keep saying the situation is self-correcting. No one is forcing these people to get vaccinated. They're afraid to catch COVID and die or be severely disabled for life. To which Article 5 can fill that remains. From, what's he from? Skillet, I think he is. No hate. Let me guess the party affiliation without even reading the article. Karma. Big shout out to Senator Andre Jacques for defending his right to get COVID. Ventilators before masks should be the GOP rally call. May the virus do what our government fails to do. Good. These people are fucking demons. These people are demons. I'm not even going to bother sending thoughts or prayers. I'll keep my thoughts or prayers to use on behalf of the children in a state who get COVID because of his ignorance. These people are demons. And of course, blame Trump. So he should have been forcing people to get the jab because he didn't. It is justice because he's on the ventilator. Am I reading that right? You showed that lawmaker classy journalism. Another blame Trump. And yeah, I mean, you just see all these people. I hope he dies. I hope he gets COVID. I hope he this. And nature's doing its work and doing what the government can't do. These people are demons, you guys. These people are demons. These people hate God. Anyway, I will offer my thoughts and prayers to Senator Jacques. I hope he gets better. I do. All that remains is Phil's band. Thank you, Quest. All right, from CNBC, Biden says U.S. health officials are considering a COVID booster shots at 5 months, moving up timeline of third shot. From Rich Mendez. Big Pharma's going to get richer on the government dime? I'm shocked. I'm shocked. I'm not that shocked. President Biden said U.S. regulators are looking at administering COVID-19 booster shots 5 months after people finish up their primary immunizations, moving up the expected timetable for a third shot by about 3 months. Biden, who was speaking with Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett on Friday, said that health officials were considering following that country's lead on boosters. I didn't even, because I completely forgot about it up until now, until they mentioned that he was talking to Naftali Bennett, but I didn't even put an article up about the fact that he fucking fell asleep while he was talking to the Israeli Prime Minister. The President of the United States fell asleep. Man, I wish I had that video right now. Fell asleep while he was talking to the Israeli Prime Minister. We're considering the advice you've given that we should start. Biden said, stating that the officials are debating whether the timeline should be shorter. Should it be as little as 5 months? Man? Come on, man, and that's being discussed. Approval of the booster shots is expected to come sometime around Labor Day, after the federal health officials have some time to review the data from other countries. National Institutes of Health Director Dr. Francis Collins last week said data released by Israel on the effectiveness of the COVID-19 vaccines over time was prompting U.S. health leaders to rethink their position on vaccine booster shots. Israel released new data on August 16th showing the reduction in effectiveness of Pfizer's COVID vaccine against severe illness among people 65 and older who were fully vaccinated in January or February. Go get another shot on the government's dime, and never mind the big pharma company you just made rich. Alright, from WISN 12, another local story for me here. Wauwatosa School District revises COVID-19 reentry plan. This is going too far. This is it. This is... I can't with this. And of course it's Washington
When school
too,
starts Wednesday in Wauwatosa.
Shut up, you. The Wauwatosa School District on Friday said it has reviewed its reentry plan and has determined that showing proof of vaccination for visitors is not required at this time. Okay, so this has been fixed since Friday. When was this updated? Updated 5:41 p.m. on August 27th. Which was Friday. Okay, so when I found this article, so this has been updated since then. When I found this article Friday morning, it was that you had to have your vaccine card if you wanted to visit a student in school or be on school grounds at all, which included picking up your kid from school. They have walked this back. The Wauwatosa School District said on Friday it reviewed its reentry plan and determined that showing proof of vaccine for visitors is not required at this time. It's important that the district minimizes barriers to strengthen the important partnership between families and schools. Further, the start of the school year is a whirlwind for office staff. An opportunity to reduce the logging of paperwork is advantageous. Wauwatosa School Superintendent Dr. Demond Means said in a message to parents on Friday. The district's original reentry plan said visitors, including parents, needed to show proof of vaccination to go on campus. When the original plan first came to light, it caused some parents off guard on Thursday. As a vaccinated parent, I'm fine with it because it won't affect us, but looking at the bigger picture, I wonder if it will isolate some parents from participating in their kids' education, Lincoln Elementary parent Caitlin Lemke said. Masking expectations remain in place for visitors, staff members, and students, while in COVID-19 Level 3, the district plans to revisit the issue in October. MPS requires face masks for visitors, but not vaccinations. So, that's good. They found out that this was going to cause an uproar and a riot among the people in their district. And they said, yeah, no. Public pressure got to them. So, good. That's a happy ending. From Rolling Stone. Eric Clapton appears frustrated with COVID-19 vaccine on new song, This Has Got to Stop. I wonder how long we can listen to this video without getting copyright dinged. Let's find out. Alright, so initially right there we've got a nice good bluesy beat off into the top here. We'll probably stop this every few seconds just to see if we can avoid getting the pop. And it's like if they tried to, because most of the time if you use music, they'll give you, this video is ineligible for monetization in all regions. Well, I turned AdSense off, so I don't really give a fuck what is eligible for monetization or not. But, you know, if they take the video down, then I can't go back and, you know, show you guys what happened with this. Alright, we'll probably skip ahead just a little bit off of this just to... Because, you know, we can sit back... And Eric Clapton is a great guitar player too, by the way, but... Is this just an instrumental song?
I know who I am, try to do what's right. So lock me up and throw away the key. But this has gotta stop. Enough is...
Alright, so that's all we're going to do off of this one here. Well, that's pretty much all we're going to do off of this because it looks like Rolling Stone says I have to log in to read it, which is new for me. In what appears to be his latest salvo against the COVID-19 vaccination and the lockdown, Eric Clapton has a surprise released a new single, This Has Gotta Stop, with an accompanying animated video that also addresses the climate change disaster. Now, I will put a note on this one to go, and we'll talk about this one a bit tomorrow if I can either archive it or find a full article that doesn't sit behind a paywall off of this. But, I mean, really realistically, one of the things that we're seeing coming out of these vaccine mandates is that society is trying to make a second-class citizen out of people who choose not to go out and get this vaccine. And I think that's wrong. I think that's absolutely wrong. And this does have to stop before we are at each other's throats and killing each other over it. So we will notate that. I will put a note on that to see if I can either archive that or find something full on that, and we'll talk about that some more. Let's keep going here. On the other side of the spectrum here, from NME, Neil Young calls on promoters to cancel super spreader COVID-era gigs, which is heartbreaking because I like Neil Young. But I also have to actually be realistic about this and notate the fact that Neil Young has made his money. He is rich beyond anybody's wildest dreams. He is rich beyond the level of wealth that the most of you in the live chat right now will ever see in your entire lives. Combined, possibly. He's made his money. He doesn't have to go out and do gigs. He doesn't have to go out there and sing for a supper anymore. He sang for a supper throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s. Neil Young has more money than God. So of course he doesn't care if he never has to go out and play a show again. I really want to never listen to Neil Young again because of this, but I really like his music. But he doesn't care about his fans. His fans want to go out into the stands and see him play guitar and sing his whiny fucking lyrics. I said I liked his music, I never said I liked his voice. But he doesn't want to be out there he doesn't want to make himself available for them. Let's read what they have to say from Will Richards. Neil Young has criticized hosting live shows during the pandemic and called on big promoters to cancel their planned concerts. In a new blog post on his official website, Young labeled COVID-era gigs as super spreader events and said the big promoters are responsible for any rise in cases that come from live shows. The promoters, if they had the awareness, could stop these shows, Young wrote in a blog post. Live Nation, AEG, and other big promoters could shut this down if they could just forget about making money for a while. Oh, fuck you! It's not just about the promoters making money. It's about the opening acts, the little bands, the sound check guys, the people out there that only make money. The people, not the big promoters, not the $1 million promoters out there. It's about the people on the ground that are making sure your concert happens. Fuck yourself. Because the sound guy is probably a $40,000 a year guy who's wondering if he's ever going to go back to work so he can feed his family, and probably working in a gas station right now just to make sure that the kids don't go hungry. The roadie, the bus driver. Fuck you. Concerts have returned in the United States across the summer as more and more of the countries become vaccinated against the pinkopox. One of the first major festivals to return was last month's Lollapalooza in Chicago. In the wake of the event, Chicago health officials said there was no evidence that the festival was a super spreader event. In the UK, live music has been allowed to take place without restrictions since July 19th. Since then, a number of festivals have been linked to a rise in COVID cases. Earlier this month, almost 5,000 coronavirus cases were linked to this year's Boardmasters Festival. According to health officials, 4,700 people who have tested positive for COVID-19 confirmed they had attended the Cornish Festival, which took place from August 11th to 15th and was attended by about 50,000 people. You know what? I don't care. The people went to the concerts and assessed their own level of risk, decided what was right for them and what wasn't. And, you know, Sturgis is a massive super spreader event this year, which they tried to claim last year, and the numbers prove that to be false as well. They're still trying to pull the numbers of, it was 10,000 cases from Sturgis last year. It was 136 cases. Out of 100,000 people, it was 136 cases were linked to Sturgis. Just so you know. But Lolla was not a super spreader event. Do you know why? Because Lolla brought a Democratic city a whole bunch of fucking money. It brought Lori Lightfoot a whole bunch of money. And I said, there is a distinct difference between the demographics of the people at Sturgis and the demographics of people who are at Lolla. The people who are at Lolla are typically under 30 by a vast majority percentage. And they probably got vaccinated because they were told to. On top of that, they're probably not going out and reporting the cases that they got because they're young, and if they got a case, they were asymptomatic. They're probably going out and they're not even reporting on this, saying, oh, cool, I'm fine. I got the sniffles for a couple days, so it must be allergy season. You're probably getting a lot of those. I'm willing to bet there were a lot more COVID cases linked with Lolla than the mainstream media would like you to know about. It's just the fact that nobody went out there and got tested. Whereas the more 60-plus audience of Sturgis probably got more symptoms off of this. Many more of them went out and got tested afterwards, and a lot of them probably popped positive, whether they were symptomatic or not. But I'd be willing to bet, given the nature of Lollapalooza, having been there, that there was a lot more droplet spread in Lollapalooza than they'll let you know. It's just a lot less testing going on with people. And like I said, the real reality and the real test of what's going to be propaganda and what's actually going to be truth is going to be what happens after Summerfest, where the average age, there is no average age about that, because some of the bands are appealed to by the 60-year-olds in the audience. Some of the bands only appeal to the 20-year-olds in the audience. And there's going to be a massive, massive, massive mix of people at Summerfest. And if they come out and say, oh, well, we've had this many cases come from Summerfest, I'll believe it. And if they come out and say, oh my God, it's a miracle, the liberal city of Milwaukee had absolutely 0 cases come from Summerfest, I'm going to say, this is bullshit. Fuck you. All right. Let's keep going here. This one came to me. This one was brought to my attention from another server that I'm in. The Real Off Hour server, an offshoot of Matt Christensen's show, which I don't watch anymore because I don't care for Matt anymore. Long story, we won't talk about that here. But this is from dr.dk, so I believe this is out of Denmark. Corona restrictions soon disappear completely. If you're not vaccinated, it will be worse than it was before. From Mark Lindved Norup. On Monday, the government raised its index finger and urged everyone to vaccinate, because there's still too many citizens who have avoided the tingling in the shoulder. We need to get 240,000 more people into our vaccination program, so come and help yourself and society to keep Denmark open, said Minister of Health Magnus Heunicke. But from 10 September, Denmark will open completely no matter how many people have left to vaccinate. It announced the government in a press release today, which stated that the coronavirus from that date will no longer be considered a socially critical disease, and that the last restrictions for the same reason lapse. There it is. No matter how many people are vaccinated, people aren't dying from it. Well, there are people that are dying from this, but I mean, you're not getting the massive numbers of deaths off of this. This is not a public health crisis. You got a few deaths, and if you're sick, stay home. But for the most part, it's time to open this all back up. It's time to get started again. It's time to go back to life. And Denmark is starting to appreciate that. So good on Denmark for that. Although it's kind of funny to see the translation and some of the grammar effects from the translation. Because this was originally a Danish news story. That's actually how it looks. I mandag slåtten rekorden pekefingeren ut formante alla att låta sig vaccinera, för det är stadig ett för många borgare där har undukta skulderen. I have no idea what any of that said. But thankfully we got this translated for us. From the coronavirus pandemic. Past COVID-19 reduces risk from reinfection from Delta variant more than Pfizer vaccine. This came to this publication via Bloomberg, which is Ron Helton's favorite magazine, from his favorite politician. People who recovered from the bout of COVID-19 during one of the earlier waves of the pandemic appeared to have a lower risk of contracting the Delta variant than those who got 2 doses of the vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech. The largest real-world analysis comparing natural immunity gained from an earlier infection to the protection provided by one of the most potent vaccines currently in use showed that reinfections were much less common. The paper from researchers in Israel contrasts with earlier studies, which showed that immunization offered better protection from an earlier infection, though those studies were not of the Delta variant. The results are good news for patients who already successfully battled COVID-19, but show the challenge of relying exclusively on immunization to move past the pandemic. People given both doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine were almost 6-fold more likely to contract Delta variant, and 7-fold more likely to have symptomatic disease than those who recovered. This analysis showed that the natural immunity affords a longer-lasting and stronger protection against the infection, symptomatic disease, and hospitalization due to the Delta variant, the researchers said. Yes, that's what we should have been doing in the beginning. Seal off the old, let them go off and make sure that they don't get in the line like this, and then have massive Victorian pox parties. Go out there with somebody who is sick with coronavirus and try to get everybody else in the room sick so they can go back and recover from this. And of course, always make sure that you have medical standby ready to take somebody to the hospital if they do get a more symptomatic and more aggressive version, a more aggressive strain of the disease. But yes, we should have been doing everything we could to get as many people affected by this as we possibly could have gotten affected by this. Nature does its thing. All right. And this is what we were filibustering too, by the way, for Harvey McLeod. From Fox 32 Chicago, Cook County judge strips mother of parental rights because she is not vaccinated. From Dane Placco. A Chicago mother says Cook County judge has taken away her parental rights after learning she is not vaccinated against COVID-19. In what all parties agree is a very unusual and perhaps unprecedented step, a judge at Chicago's Daly Center has stripped Rebecca Furlet of custody because she refuses to get her vaccination shot. This is coming. This is coming if we don't push back on this, by the way. I miss my son more than anything. It's been very difficult. I haven't seen him since August 10th, Furlet told Fox 32 in an exclusive interview. Let's see how long this actually is. We might listen to some of this.
A mother says that a Cook County
2 minutes,
judge
we can do this.
has taken away her parental rights after learning that she's not vaccinated.
Dane Placco is live at Daly Plaza with this story. Dane?
Yeah, and what all parties agree is a very unusual, if not unprecedented step. A Cook County judge here at the Daly Center has stripped a Chicago mom of her parenting time because she's refused to get the COVID vaccination shot.
I miss my son more than anything. It's been very difficult. I haven't seen him since August 10th.
August 10th, that's the day Rebecca Furlet appeared in court via Zoom along with her ex-husband for a child support hearing involving their 11-year-old son. Now, the two share custody, or had shared custody in parenting time, 50-50. She says out of the blue, Cook County Judge James Shapiro asked her whether she'd been vaccinated. She told him no, she had not, because she's had bad reactions to vaccines in the past. Judge Shapiro then ordered that she be stripped of all parenting time with her son until she gets vaccinated. Over the past 2 weeks, she's been able to talk to him on the phone and via video call, but she has not seen her son in person. Furlet is now appealing that order, saying the judge has no business taking away her parenting rights simply because she's not vaccinated.
I think it's wrong. It had nothing to do with what we were talking about, and he was placing his views on me and taking my son away from me.
But in this case, you have a judge without any matter before him regarding the parenting time of the child deciding, oh, you're not vaccinated, you don't get to see your child until you are vaccinated. That kind of exceeds his jurisdiction.
Now, we talked to the attorney representing the father, Jeffrey Leving. You'll be hearing from him next hour. He says they were as surprised by this as anyone, but they support that decision by the judge, saying that given the pandemic, the child should be protected from an unvaccinated mother. We also reached out to the judge and the chief judge's office. They say they cannot comment on this case because it is ongoing.
The child should be protected from an unvaccinated mother. Fuck yourself. So, and it looks like a lot of the information in this article is the stuff we just listened to in the video, but oh my god, no. No, 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 no. It's coming though, you guys. I mean, this is coming. And this is the pressure that, I mean, the government has set. The government has come out and said that they need to go put pressure on some of these people in order to get them to do what it is that they want to do. This is some of the pressure that's coming. It absolutely is. If we don't push back on it, it's going to come to our doors too. On the other side of it, though, this one I thought was kind of fucking hilarious from The Blaze. Andy Richter inadvertently exposes problem with eviction moratorium as his son hunts for a new apartment. From Chris Enlow. Comedian Andy Richter, known for his role as Conan O'Brien's sidekick, has inadvertently exposed the unintended consequences of the controversial eviction moratorium. Writing on Twitter, Richter said his son is searching for a studio apartment in Southern California. According to Richter, the landlord of one prospective apartment requested 6 months of rent up front in addition to advance payments for the first and last month's rent. My son is looking for a studio apartment around USC, and one that he applied for a couple days ago told us that the owner wanted 6 months rent up front. After he and I both paid app fees, Richter explained. No wonder people fucking hate landlords and the management companies that facilitate them, he complained. Oh, and that's in addition to the first and last month's rent for deposit. After noticing that his initial tweet was generating criticism, Richter lamented that he did not understand why his economic position meant that he could not point out when something is unfair. I'm a feminist male. Do you really want me to criticize sexism? I'm for racial equality. Does that mean whiteness can't speak out against racism? It's puzzling why people with whom I largely agree with want me to shut the fuck up about income inequality, exploitation of the poor, etc., Richter said. Fuck you. Again. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. And this is, that's the tweet right there. My son is looking for a studio apartment around USC, and one that he applied for a couple days ago told us the owner wanted 6 months rent up front after he and I both paid app fees. No wonder people fucking hate landlords and the management companies that facilitate them. And, this is screenshotted for the Blaze, which the Blaze usually doesn't do, but I've got a feeling that Beck thinks that this tweet is going to get taken down at some point, because he's pulling off criticism. Now, the biggest problem with this is not the landlord speaking out, because that's going to be a thing no matter what happens. That's going to be a thing forever and ever. All they're going to do is speak out against landlords. But when you look at something like this is exactly the problem with the eviction moratoriums. The people who are still going to rent are going to look at this and say, hey, there's a chance I might not get my fucking money. I want 6 months rent up front. For good reason. For damn good reason. If I had property and a room, I would want 6 months rent up front right now too. Yeah, I damn sure would want 6 months rent up front. Why? Because a lot of these people have gone without rent for over a year. Yeah, no. And that's the other thing, is once the government has gotten involved before, it's only a matter of time before they do it again. So yeah, that absolutely should be. I'm a feminist male. Do you really want me to not criticize sexism? No, you're a feminine male. That's what you are. From Insider, CDC Director, and this will be the last on the COOF. Then we've got a few more topics to do, and then we will do a Ferengi rule of acquisition and head out of here. From Insider, CDC Director wants the agency to take on firearm violence for the first time in decades. I'm not here about gun control. From Grace Panetta. Dr. Rochelle Walensky, the director of the CDC, wants her agency to establish gun violence as an urgent public health crisis. Now is the time. It's pedal to the metal time, she told CNN in a new interview. The scope of the problem is just bigger than we're even hearing about, and that's when your heart wrenches every day. You turn on the news, and you're only hearing the tip of the iceberg, Walensky said. Congress stopped funding the CDC's gun violence research in 1997 under pressure from the National Rifle Association, and the agency's directors in the time since have largely stayed mum on the issue until now. The funding changed during the Trump administration when Congress passed spending bills allocating $25 million for the CDC and National Institutes of Health to research gun violence. This shit right here, this is why I am against Omnibus, and this shit right here is the reason I voted for Trump. Because without the stigma of trying to get elected for a third term, he had a lot of fuck you clout to look at the Omnibus that has shit like this in it and say, no, why are we spending money on this? What do we got going on here? I'm not signing this bullshit. No, give me a budget. Give me an itemized budget and I'll sign it. I will look at it and I'll say, this is bullshit that's in here, but I will sign it. This is coming because of the omnibus bills that Congress put out. That I was sworn to. And this is why I almost didn't vote for a president in this last election, too, by the way. Because I couldn't stand Jorgensen, not Biden. Well, I couldn't really stand Biden either, but Biden is a fucking houseplant. And Trump went back on his word. He said, no, I'm going to sign this one omnibus package, and it's going to be the last one ever, I promise. And then he went back and signed 2 fucking more. I almost didn't vote for a president this time through. I did vote for Trump in the end in a clutch, kicking and screaming. Because I hoped that the fuck you clout that he would have for not running for president a 3rd time would allow him to look at these omnibus packages that have, like I said, shit like this in them and say, what is this? I'm not signing this. No. I'll use this to wipe my ass. We're not doing this. This is a veto. This is a pocket veto. We're not doing any of this anymore. I don't have to worry about getting reelected. Show me a real budget, okay? Without any of this bullshit in it. But Walensky says she's trying to walk a thin line between sounding the alarm on the issue without alienating gun owners or adding to politicization of the issue. Oh, fucking bullshit. Generally, the word gun, for those who are worried about research in this area, is followed by the word control. And that's not what I want to do here, Walensky told CNN. I'm not here about gun control, I'm here about preventing gun violence and gun death. Well then perhaps you should enforce some of the laws that are already on the books that keep illegal people from having guns. And keep the mentally ill from having guns. Perhaps that's where you should start, Rochelle Walensky. Not any of this, well, we're gonna call gun violence an epidemic and we're gonna see what we can do to stop it. Yeah, you guys all fucking blow. From CNN. Trump makes an executive privilege threat as House committee seeks documents from agencies on January 6th attack. From Zachary Cohen, Ryan Nobles, Annie Grayer, and Whitney Wild. Former President Trump on Wednesday threatened to invoke executive privilege in an effort to block the House Select Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol riot from obtaining a massive tranche of documents it's demanding from several U.S. government agencies, despite his successor having ultimate say over whether the information can be shared. Executive privilege will be defended, not just on behalf of my administration and the patriots who work beside me, but on behalf of the office of the President of the United States and the future of our nation, Trump said in a statement, without detailing how such an effort could be conducted. The Biden admin has already declined to assert executive privilege over some testimony related to January 6th, telling former Justice Department officials that they were free to provide unrestricted testimony, but the admin has not weighed in on whether the community should have unrestricted access to the records and documents from the Trump White House. The document requests from the House Select Committee echo those previously issued by other House committees in the aftermath of the January 6th Selfie Fest, while significantly broadening the search to other areas and people inside and outside the government, specifically the Select Committees asking for records from the DOJ, Department of the Interior, Department of Defense, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, the National Counterterrorism Center, the Department of Homeland Security, and perhaps most importantly, the National Archives, the custodian of the Trump administration White House records. The list of targets is long and varied, ranging from information about the attempts to either carry out or defy Trump's orders, invoke the Insurrection Act, martial law, or the 25th Amendment, as well as for communications regarding members of the Trump White House campaign, January 5th and January 6th rally organizers, and even alleged members of the far-right extremist groups, such as the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. The Proud Boys are a plant, by the way. Dude. Let it go. Let it go. There's nothing there. The FBI said so. Oh, well, we have to go investigate the FBI to figure out if they were under Trump pressure, which they weren't because the FBI fucking hated Trump. They're going to keep trying to do this bullshit and keep going with it. And that's all I have to say on that. It's not about executive privilege. It's about the fact that there's nothing there. All right. Here's an interesting one here. Coming up out of my neck of the woods again, Waukesha Schools Free Lunch Protest Support Program. From Jason Colby out of Fox 6. The school district of Waukesha is getting national attention for saying no to a federal free lunch program that provides meals to all students regardless of family income. In support of free lunches for all, some protesters on Friday, August 27th, left behind their message, feeding families doesn't spoil anyone. The school board decided unanimously in June not to rejoin the federal program. One school board member said she was worried people could become spoiled with the free lunch program for all program. I think it's most important to point out that the most needy students under either selection you would make, there is a system that is there for them to access, says Darren Clark, School District of Waukesha Assistant Superintendent for the Business Services. Other worries were about free breakfast food going to waste, saying students in need are being helped without having to give free meals to all. It's not just the ones that are on free and reduced lunches. We know they are going to help, said David Dringenberg with Alliance for Education in Waukesha. It's the families that are in between. Families that, I know a dad that lost his job. They had income still, but it didn't get them free and reduced lunch. But this was a benefit for the family. This was a blessing for the family. It helped relieve their burden. The Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction told Fox 6 News that Waukesha is the only eligible district in the state to opt out of the program. There are 13 school districts that don't qualify because they're not part of the regular USDA school meal programs. I would say this is part of normalization, going back to our free and reduced lunch program as opposed to feeding everyone, said Waukesha School Board President Joseph Como Jr. This has been Waukesha's plan since June. If there's just kids that we are just missing if we went back to free and reduced lunch program, now is the time to be telling me, oh, there's a bunch, but what I've heard is we're covering the families pretty well, and we have stopgaps in place, cheese sandwiches and some other things in place to help those kids, Como Jr. said. So I looked into this a little bit. I actually went in and, because this isn't something I heard yesterday and was able to go back and talk to today. I've heard this on the radio on the way to work on Friday, and then saw it was Twitter trending already because people were freaking out about it, and it did gain national attention. I want to point something out, and this was pointed out in the Fox 6 article as well. Waukesha County does have a local program in place that covers free and reduced lunches, and they've got the tax revenue to take care of it. Waukesha County is one of the better managed tax havens in the or tax systems in our state. So they don't necessarily need to have the federal assistance for this. And that's all they're denying. They're not denying having a free and reduced lunch program. They are having they're denying the federal dollars for it. They're letting their local community, their local taxpayers, who should be covering this, be the ones that cover it. But the entire internet had to freak out about it for a fucking day because, oh my god, they're denying, and it wasn't worded right either, by the way. The way that the dude worded it, I can understand why they're doing this, but yeah, no, this is not that as big of a deal as you would think it was. As big of a deal as they're trying to make it out to be. And feminist Killjoy also had to make this about race because the Washington Post gave the beginning. A school district opted out of free and reduced price meals, saying students could become spoiled. Yeah, that was probably a big part of the reason everyone freaked out, was because of the become spoiled part of this. And with the demographic chart out there to show that this is disproportionately going to affect black people. Oh my god, they're going to try and genocide black people in Waukesha County. Of which comparatively there are almost none. But anything that they can go back to freak out and go against a generally conservative county as well. Because Waukesha, in spite of the fact that it touches Milwaukee County, is actually a fairly conservative county. So of course, now we've got to go and demonize them as well. Good job, people. Alright, some more video for you guys. This teacher To which, literally your mom, who was also, from what I understand, in the path of last night's hurricane, says, fuck this teacher. Let's find out why.
Okay, so during third period, we have announcements and they do the Pledge of Allegiance. I always tell my class, stand if you feel like it, don't stand if you feel like it, say the words if you want, don't have to say the words. So my class decided to stand but not say the words. Totally fine. Except for the fact that my room does not have a flag. It used to be there, but I took it down during COVID because it made me uncomfortable. And I packed it away and I don't know where, and I haven't found it yet. But my kid today goes, hey, it's kind of weird that we just stand and then, we say it to nothing. And I'm like, oh, well, I gotta find it. Like, I'm working on it. I got you. In the meantime, I tell this kid, we do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around and he goes, oh, that one? Okay, so during third period, we have
Okay. Now, I am not a fan of the Pledge of Allegiance, especially for a kid who doesn't know what they're pledging their allegiance to. I had a probably 2-hour conversation with my mom Friday night, and that was one of the topics that came up, was this specific story and the fact this is going on there. Because my mom, late generation boomer, sees the Pledge of Allegiance and things from a different light than I do, especially given the fact that I've got that flag sitting up behind me. We do see the Pledge of Allegiance in a very, very different situation between the two of us. However, I look at this and I don't have to pledge my allegiance to the magic sky cloth for my freedom to come. That's just something that's automatically there. But I mean, this is also, she's telling her kids, and did she say what grade she was in? We'll talk about this because there's an article that goes with it, but there's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this. Of course, my comment, because she said, fuck this teacher, was, I mean, she's cute if you think it would help. I have my doubts, though. No traction from that comment either, by the way, you guys. That was funny. All right. I stand by what I said. Maybe she could use a few inches of the patriarchy to bring her back around. I don't know. But, yeah, coming back and still having the kids say the words, but have them say it to a pride flag like that. Once these kids wake up, grow up, and realize what these words mean, because, I mean, when I was in elementary school, I had no idea what the Pledge of Allegiance meant. I just knew that it's something that I had to say. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Are we done yet? Come on. And that's the attitude of most of your kids in elementary school. They have no idea what they're saying with this, other than words. It's like when you get them up and have them say the Apostles' Creed in church. They have no idea what they're saying. But that's what we see coming off of that. And yeah, let's read what the Fox News article has to say here. California teacher boasts not having American flag, tells students to pledge allegiance to gay pride flag. From Emma Colton. What a clickbait headline to try and get more boomers to show and click on Fox News. A California school district is investigating a teacher after she posted a video admitting that she encouraged her students to pledge allegiance to a gay pride flag after she removed the American flag from her classroom. And I don't have to quote the video, we all watched it. Kristen Pitson, by the way, is her name, of Newport Mesa School District in Orange County. Let's see. Yeah, most of this is quote from the video. The Newport Mesa School District told Fox News on Saturday the incident is under investigation, but could not provide more details as it does not discuss employee-related matters. We are aware of this incident and we are investigating. While we do not discuss employee-related matters, we can tell you that showing respect and honor for our nation's flag is a value that we instill in our students and an expectation of our employees. We take matters like this seriously and we will be taking action to address it, Public Relations Officer for the district, Annette Franco, said. I mean, like I said, if you think that a few inches of the patriarchy would change your mind, I volunteer myself as a tribute. I have my doubts, though. I don't think it's going to work. I'll try anything once. From the Blaze, talking about our neighbors in the south. Terrifying video shows Hurricane Ida blasts Louisiana, tear off hospital roof, intense storm surge floods the Gulf Coast, from Paul Saka. Hurricane Ida slammed into Louisiana on Sunday, pounding the shoreline with devastating wind and dangerous storm surges. Hurricane Ida made landfall Sunday at 12:55 p.m. near Port Fourchon, Louisiana, which is 16 years after Hurricane Katrina ravaged the state. The Category 4 storm packed powerful winds of 150 miles an hour, which makes Ida one of only 3 hurricanes that made Louisiana landfall with sustained winds of that magnitude, joining Laura in 2020 and the last island hurricane, 1856. The National Hurricane Center declared Ida still to be Category 4 in its 6 p.m. Eastern Time update. The storm surge, which is projected to be up to 15 feet in some parts of the region, was so intense it forced the mighty Mississippi River to flow in reverse as massive amounts of seawater pushed ashore, according to Bloomberg. Alright, let's look at some of the video of this. Eye of the Monster, NOAA's Go ES East gives an up-close look at the lightning swirling around the eye of Hurricane Ida, a dangerous Category 4 hurricane nearing the coast of southeastern Louisiana. Please stay safe. That is actually kind of impressive, I'm not going to lie. This is not the kind of storm we normally get, Louisiana Governor John Bell Edwards said. This is going to be much stronger than we usually see, and quite frankly, if you had to draw up the worst possible path for a hurricane in Louisiana, it would be something very, very close to what we're seeing. Edwards requested a presidential major disaster declaration. Hurricane Ida is one of the strongest storms to ever hit Louisiana. It is our goal to assist our local agencies and the citizens of the state as quickly as possible, and we have pre-positioned search and rescue teams, boats, and other assets to begin helping people as soon as it's safe. Alright, here's some more Hurricane Ida.
Hurricane Ida made landfall along parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast on Sunday as a Category 4 storm with maximum sustained winds of 150 miles per hour. Ida could inundate much of the Louisiana shoreline as the state grapples with the COVID surge already taxing hospitals.
Oh, COVID!
Louisiana Governor John Bell Edwards on Sunday said it appeared hundreds of thousands living in low-lying areas had evacuated, but evacuating COVID patients was not an option.
That's the guy that forgot his Bible.
Evacuating these large hospitals is just not an option because there's not any other hospitals with the capacity to take them. This is a major, major storm that's going to test us in ways that we've not been tested before for a lot of reasons, but this COVID situation is certainly one of them.
U.S. President Joe Biden tracked the hurricane from the Federal Emergency Management Agency on Sunday.
So I want to emphasize again, this is going to be a devastating hurricane, a life-threatening storm. So please, all you folks in Mississippi and Louisiana, Mississippi, and God knows, maybe even further east, take precautions. Listen, take it seriously, really, very seriously.
New Orleans residents braced.
All right, so there's that. Before and after security camera footage from the fire station, number 12 in Delacroix, within an hour time span. That's an hour. Ooh. The wires are up. They're curved up from the wind. All right, so there's some of that. And this is the title part of the article. La Force Parish, part of the roof of Lady of the Sea General Hospital in Galliano, blew off.
Oh my God! Yo! Oh my God!
That is impressive and scary. So our hearts and our prayers go out. Remarkable wind damage already taking place on Decatur Street in French Quarter. So once again, our prayers go out to the people that we know in these regions. Make sure that they're safe. Make sure that they're protected. If you know somebody out there, give them a call. Make sure that they're okay. I'm going to reach out to Rebel with a Cause and make sure he's all good. Looks like he's been tweeting out. They lost power, but he's at least safe. Christian Boymom, Faller Ford rather, on Twitter, they're safe, looks like. So now it's time for the rebuilding process. All right, a couple more here. Remember that bill that the Texas Democrats left in order to prevent from happening? Well, it passed. Texas House passes GOP-led election overhaul bill for Max Greenwood. The Texas State House passed a sweeping election overhaul bill on Friday after months of partisan fighting and a quorum-breaking walkout by Texas Dems who sought to stop the measure in its tracks. The 80-41 vote on SB 1 lowered the curtain on a months-long fight by Texas Democrats to halt legislation, which would implement a slew of new voting restrictions like limits on early voting hours and the new voter ID requirements for mail-in voting. The Texas State Senate will have to vote on the measure before it can be sent to Governor Greg Abbott's desk. Still, the House vote on Friday signaled that the longest battle yet over Republican efforts to clamp down on the state election rules may be reaching an end. Among the changes, including the legislation, are bans on practices like drive-through voting, as well as new limits on absentee ballot applications. The bill would also empower partisan poll watchers and create harsher penalties for voter fraud. Democrats and voting rights activists say that the new restrictions would disproportionately impact voters of color and make it harder for them to cast their ballots. Republican-controlled legislatures and many other states have moved to pass new restrictions of their own in the months since former President Trump's 2020 electoral loss. State Democrats managed to block previous iterations of the legislation by staging two quorum-breaking walkouts. In July, Abbott called a special session of the legislature to consider an election bill. Among other measures intent on delaying the legislation, a group of 50 Democrats jetted off to D.C., where they met with members of Congress and Vice President Harris in an effort to push federal voting rights legislation. So, did they just come home? Is that why they can do this now? And really, honestly, what did you achieve at that point? You made attention, you brought attention to things, yes, that's understandable, but to people in other states that don't have a say in a lot of this stuff, that don't have a say in any of this because they're in other states. And you tried, of course, to force the federal government to pass H.R. 1 and make this all a federal thing, which is a bad idea, by the way. But, I mean, don't listen to me. Honk honk. But yes, now you still have the state law in this, and elections are decided on state levels. They aren't decided on the federal level. So, good job. You wasted a bunch of taxpayer money for nothing. Alright. Interesting story here from CNN. Board recommends parole for RFK assassin Sirhan Sirhan on 16th attempt. From Ray Sanchez and Sherry Mossberg. Sirhan Sirhan, the man convicted of assassinating Senator Robert F. Kennedy in '68, was recommended for parole on Friday after 53 years in prison. The 77-year-old inmate's fate is now in the hands of California's governor. Two of Kennedy's surviving sons, RFK Jr. and Douglas Kennedy, supported the release of during Sirhan's 16th appearance before the parole board, yet several of Kennedy's other children have strongly opposed the move. Sirhan arrived at the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation in May of 1969 after being convicted of first-degree murder and assault with intent to murder. I'm overwhelmed just by being able to view Mr. Sirhan face-to-face, Doug Kennedy, who was a toddler when his father was gunned down in '68, said during a virtual hearing. I think I've lived both my life both in fear of him and his name in one way or another. I'm grateful today to see him as a human being worthy of compassion and love. Sirhan, wearing a blue uniform with paper towel folded like a handkerchief in his pocket, smiled. I do have some love for you, Doug Kennedy told the inmate, who nodded and lowered his head. RFK Jr., who has favored Sirhan's release in the past, wrote in support of the parole. He said he was moved when he first met Sirhan, who wept, clenching my hands, and asked for forgiveness and offered to be a guiding friend for him. So I will be completely honest. I don't know enough about the situation where Sirhan did this, other than the fact that, yes, he was the one who did it. But I don't know enough of a situation to know whether or not this was a good thing or a bad thing. Obviously, people being in prison forever, I'm not huge on. But the family has requested that he have the parole. It looks like the parole board has said that he is fine to be out in general public again. I don't know. And I don't know where Newsom is going to go on this either, because he is in the middle of a recall election. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but it's still interesting that he got out, that's for sure. Alright, last one that we will do a Ferengi rule of acquisition and head out of here for the day. Minor major issues. Emails show Biden dog was nippier than the White House said. From Darren Gregorian and Lauren Egan. The Biden family dog was a bit more of a problem pooch than the White House initially acknowledged, according to the Secret Service, emails obtained by the conservative legal group Judicial Watch. The White House said at the end of March that Major, the Biden's 3-year-old German Shepherd, was involved in a pair of nipping incidents, but the emails show he was involved in several more. At the current rate, an agent or officer has been bitten every day this week, 3-1 to 3-8, causing damage to a tire, bruising, punctures to the skin, one of the emails said. When asked on Friday why the admin had provided reporters with a misleading account of the dog's difficulties, White House Press Secretary and red-haired bobblehead Jen Psaki sidestepped the question. As I've stated previously, Major had some challenges adjusting to life in the White House. He's been receiving additional training as well, pending some time in Delaware, where the environment is more familiar to him and he's more comfortable. And I don't have any additional specifics, but that speaks to where Major is located. To be fully transparent in your ongoing interest in the dog, and I'll circle back to that, Psaki said. The emails were released after Judicial Watch filed a Freedom of Information Act against the Department of Homeland Security earlier this year. The group is best known for lengthy legal battles seeking information about Hillary Clinton's emails, the Clinton Foundation, and the 2012 attack on Benghazi, Libya. Major's problems appear to have started at the end of February, a month after Biden took office, when the first family was in Delaware. This weekend in Wilmington, there were 3 minor incidents where Major nipped, brushed up, and nudged agents, a March 1st email recounted, while also offering safety advice. Panicking or running will only embolden animals, so stand your ground and protect your hands and fingers by placing them in your pockets or behind your back, the email warned. I don't care about this. I'm going to be completely honest about it. I don't give a flying fuck about this, except for the fact that it shows the honesty of the administration. Now, if they'd have come out and said, oh yeah, no, Major's having problems, we gotta send him back to Delaware, there's like 8 instances where he bit somebody or bit at somebody, then I would say, yeah, okay, this is cool. It sucks that he had to go through this, but, you know, get him some training, do whatever, but this is cool, I understand this. But you really did. You screwed the fucking pooch on this, no pun intended, by coming out and lying about this, saying, oh, this was only a couple times, and oh no, everybody was going to love Major, and now Major's got to go back to Delaware. What else are you lying about? Well, we all know what the admin's lying about at this point, so it doesn't matter. But Yeah, they can't even tell the truth about something as innocent as a dog nipping at Secret Service agents. All right, you guys, that was it for news. And at the end of a Monday, we always do one of the Ferengi rules of acquisition. We're powering through them, too. We're going pretty quick here. So, last week, we went through one of the rules of acquisition I don't agree with, because it's fairly blatantly racist. A contract is a contract is a contract, but only between Ferengi. I don't agree with that. That's blatantly racist, and you shouldn't treat other people that you want to do business with in that poor of a fashion. And then we move on to the 18th rule of acquisition. A Ferengi without profit is no Ferengi at all. This is from the DS9 episode Heart of Stone. And this goes more into the religious aspect of the Ferengi capitalist society rather than actual business practices that we should be taking into our regular lives. And it gives us a glimpse into the actual Ferengi society. The way their capitalism goes, the way that their greed goes, and the way that they've used that to build their empire. I mean, the Ferengi didn't develop warp travel, they bought it. They bought warp drive, and I don't know how much of it they know how it actually works. They bought most everything that they have, and they've been able to build an empire off of it. But the measure of a man is how much he can profit, according to the rules of acquisition. Or a Ferengi, not a man, but the measure of a member of your society is how you can profit. They worship at gold. I mean, you have to pay to go see their leaders, and their heaven is a vault. But always, 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 always try to position yourself, and it's not always going to happen, in a way that you can also be profitable in your life. Always look to the way that your life can be, the things that you can do in your life, to make sure that you are putting a good product out to the world that you can use, that people can use. Make sure that you have profit, or at least a livable wage. And it's not always going to happen, but make sure that when you get kicked down, you can always roll yourself up. Make sure you've got a backup plan so you can roll up your sleeves and get back out there. I've been a man without profit before. I've been so far into the ground that I'm still trying to claw my way back out at this point here. And by the way, if you guys want to buy me a coffee or throw me a PayPal or something, the links are in the chat. If you guys want to do that, that would be great. Because every little bit helps as well. But, you know, I know where it's at. And now I've tried to prepare myself and put myself in a position that I never have to be in that situation again. That I will always be a man with profit. Because profit doesn't make the world go around, but it sure makes it a lot more comfortable place for you to live. And that's going to be it for the day. Let's change up the track and let's head out of here for the day. Oh, do I have my changed up track? I don't have my changed up track. So I had to go and do a bit of a restart. Change the track. Alright, so thanks everybody who came by and chatted in the live chat today. The lurkers, the listeners, looks like we had a good crowd in today, so I'm pretty happy to see that. And yeah, our prayers go out to the people of both Afghanistan as they're getting out, and the people of Louisiana and the states that this hurricane is going to go across in the next few days. So make sure that you reach out to people that you know in that region of the country. Make sure they're all safe, make sure they're all good, make sure they're all happy, and effective in their rebuild efforts. I might have to see if I can go down. I've always wanted to go back down to take a trip down the Mississippi and see what the roads are like down there. I might have to go down there and see if I can help some people as well. So that might be coming up in the near future. If I do that, of course, we will have guest hosts for Contemporary, because I don't want you guys to miss a day of Contemporary while I'm gone. So we will see what's happening with that. Otherwise, we'll be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary, or later on tonight at 5:30 for the Red Net Show with special guest host Wyatt Birkenhoff. Come back and join us for that. That is at 5:30 Central Time on all these same channels. It's going to be a great time. Wyatt is a great asset to the upcoming media group that we're forming here, and I'm interested to tell his story as well. Otherwise, join us here tomorrow for more Contemporary. Until then, I am Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Take care.